Welcome back to ABC News Live. First, let's get right to breaking news. Meta has reached a settlement in a landmark social media trial. 29 states accuse the social media giant of designing its apps to get children addicted and misleading users about their safety. Meta called the claims unsubstantiated and says it's created strong protections for teens. Now a new settlement agreement will require the tech giant to pay at least $12 billion and up to $17 billion over the next 10 years. It also forces Meta to make major changes to its apps, eliminating or changing features the states claim got kids hooked. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze is here with some of the details. Hi, Elizabeth. What do we know so far?
Diane, this is a big moment when we think about how these claims have been brought forward against Meta over the design of its apps, the claims that they were designed to get young users addicted. We have now learned that Meta has reached a settlement with 51 attorneys general. That's 51, a bipartisan coalition. Just 3 states are not included in this. The territories are also included, that will require Meta to pay up to $17 billion over the next 10 years, and that perhaps even more importantly and significantly, when you think about these apps, they will have to make changes to how these apps operate. Now, part of these changes, I'm just going to read through some of the changes in the list here, Diane. A default daily time limit of 2 hours for users under the age of 18. A ban on displaying numbers of likes or reactions to users under age 18. A ban on cosmetic procedure image filters. The option for some users under 18 to have a non-personalized feed. That is significant because that gets at algorithmic changes with these platforms. So what we're looking at here is an agreement that effectively concedes that some of the design features on these apps got young users addicted, and the states had claimed that that contributed to harming the mental health of these young users, and now Meta will be forced to make these changes. We haven't yet heard from Meta on this settlement agreement. Meta had previously said that the claims that these states were making were unsubstantiated, and they pointed to the protections that they've made when it comes to protecting young users on the platform. But this is a really big moment here when we think about some of this legal action taking on these social media platforms, Diane. We have seen these cases, 2 already major cases play out so far this year, but this one was a federal trial involving a lawsuit filed by 29 states attorneys general. A huge moment when you think about the dollar amount here in this settlement, up to $17 billion, but the fact that Meta is acknowledging that it will be making changes to how some of its apps operate too, Diane.
And I want to bring in ABC News contributor and Google Tech Policy Fellow Mike Muse on that point. Mike, talk about the significance of the 2 things Elizabeth just mentioned, the dollar amount here, but also the changes that Meta is now going to have to make.
This is really huge in Meta, and not only just for this case, Diane, but actually for future cases that they may be facing going forward. I look at this as Meta trying to get ahead of it to avoid future lawsuits. What they're coming to the table with, and not just a dollar amount, but changes. They have already begun to make changes after this lawsuit was first filed to their teen accounts. But what they were looking at was the possibility that the jury might not have bought into it enough, that Meta did enough in order to protect teens, in particular the harm that they have caused prior to the actual change being made. So what this is doing now is Meta is acknowledging it, saying, look, we made changes to our teen account to automatically default teens into our account. But now what we're going to do is we're going to work with state attorneys going forward. We're going to be collaborative in the ways that we could actually go even further in order to protect children. So what that is signaling is that for anyone else who possibly may have a lawsuit they're thinking about or pending, Meta will have on record and saying, look, we've made all the changes that you've asked for. The attorney generals agreed to this settlement. They feel confident and secure that Meta is doing enough at this current time in order to protect the teens. Not only that, Diane, but they were facing $1 trillion. And so facing that amount of money just within this lawsuit alone, with the potential of other lawsuits coming on the pipeline, it was more economically feasible in order to do this. In particular, as Meta is really looking at their cash flow. Cash flow is really important for these tech companies currently right now as they invest and double down into data centers, which are extremely expensive to build and to operate in order to produce other future products for artificial intelligence. So I think this was a path forward for Meta to be able to keep their cash flow, to work in conjunction with attorney generals, and to possibly preclude future lawsuits from coming out of the pipeline that they're not doing enough for children's safety.
Elizabeth, what are you watching for next? Could this impact go beyond Meta?
Well, for sure. And, one thing that's notable in the release that we got from the California State Attorney General's office is that some of the conditions to change these apps, they say that, for example, Diane, the default time limit for young users, that it would be 2 hours for people under the age of 18 on the apps. But if other social media platforms agree to similar terms, they say that daily time limit will drop to 1 hour. So we're going to have to report out more details on that. We're going to reaching out to other tech platforms too. But this understanding that there is this groundswell, this is not just Instagram and Facebook. We have also seen similar cases against TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, and the acknowledgement that these lawsuits have been targeting the design of these apps. It's not about the content that's on there, Diane. This has really been a different legal approach that we've seen states and also individuals taking to take on these companies, going after specifically those design features, and now this acknowledgement from the companies that those features might change.
All right, Elizabeth Schulze, Mike Muse, thank you both.